You're starving, not skipped lunch hungry, days without food hungry. You're standing in a forest, and in front of you is a plant you've never seen before. Bright berries, waxy leaves. It looks like food. You have no label, no warning sign, no internet to search, is this poisonous? Just you, your gut, and a decision that could kill you in the next 20 minutes. So how did anyone survive long enough to figure this out? Most people assume early humans just got lucky. Trial and error. Eat it, and either you live or you don't. But that math doesn't work. If it really was random guessing, entire tribes would have wiped themselves out in a single bad season. There's a reason we're still here, and it's not luck. Researcher Timothy Johns, who spent decades studying how indigenous communities interact with wild plants, found something strange. Across completely unconnected cultures, different continents, different centuries, no contact with each other, people arrived at almost identical rules for what not to eat. Same warning signs, same instincts, same reactions. That's not coincidence, that's a pattern. But here's where it gets complicated. Because the human body already comes preloaded with a warning system. Think about the last time you tasted something bitter and instantly wanted to spit it out. That wasn't manners. That was ancient code running in the background. Bitterness in nature is disproportionately linked to toxins, alkaloids, compounds your liver has to fight to survive. And humans evolved with taste receptors that are hypersensitive to it, far more sensitive than our receptors for sweetness. Most people assume taste is about pleasure. But that's not what it's for. Taste is a threat detector first and a pleasure system second. Here's the twist, though bitterness alone couldn't save you. Because some of the deadliest plants on Earth taste sweet. Take the death cap mushroom, one of the most lethal fungi on the planet. It doesn't taste bitter. It doesn't smell wrong. Survivors who accidentally ate it have described the taste as pleasant, even good, right up until the poisoning began, hours later. So if taste alone can't warn you, something else has to. And this is where it gets strange, because the answer wasn't just in the plant. It was in the animals around it. Ancient humans weren't the only ones avoiding poison. Every animal in that ecosystem was doing the same thing every single day, for millions of years before humans even existed. So early humans did something incredibly simple. They watched. If birds ate a berry and dropped dead nearby, that plant was marked. If deer, known to eat almost anything, still avoided a certain leaf, that was information. This is called zoopharmacognosy, animals self-selecting plants for medicine or survival. And it's been observed in chimpanzees, elephants, even insects. Humans didn't invent plant knowledge from scratch. They stole it from every creature that came before them. And then something unexpected happened. Because watching animals only gets you so far. Animals have different livers, different tolerances. What's safe for a bird can shut down a human kidney in an hour. So the real breakthrough wasn't observation. It was testing, but not the reckless kind. Anthropological records of surviving hunter-gatherer groups show a method passed down for generations. Microdosing. A tiny touch to the lips. Wait. A small taste on the tongue, not swallowed. Wait again. A pea-sized amount, hours later, watched closely by the rest of the group. This wasn't guessing. This was a controlled experiment, run by people with no concept of controlled experiments, thousands of years before that phrase existed. Think about that for a second. They were doing science without knowing what science was. And this is where the bigger picture opens up. Because this knowledge didn't live in one person's head. It couldn't. If the only person who knew, "Don't eat that root," died before telling someone else, the entire tribe was one bad winter away from repeating a fatal mistake. So this information had to be passed down, out loud, constantly, story after story, generation after generation. Anthropologists studying oral tradition believe this is one of the actual evolutionary pressures behind human storytelling itself. Not entertainment, survival software, disguised as a bedtime story. The myths, the warnings, the "don't go near that tree" folklore your grandparents might still repeat. Some of it may be thousands of years of accumulated poison avoidance data, wrapped in narrative because narrative is what memory actually holds on to. which means every time someone told a story around a fire about the cursed berries or the forbidden root, that wasn't superstition. That was a warning label, passed down the only way they had. And it worked so well that traces of it survive today. Ever notice how children instinctively spit out bitter foods before they can even explain why? Ever notice how almost every culture on Earth has some version of "don't eat the pretty red one"? That's not modern parenting. That's 300,000 years of inherited caution, still running in the background of your own brain, right now. So the next time you walk past a plant you don't recognize, and some quiet part of your mind says, "don't touch that," that feeling isn't random. It's not superstition, and it's not overthinking. It's an instinct built by everyone who came before you and survived long enough to pass it on. Somewhere back in your bloodline, someone touched the wrong leaf, tasted the wrong berry, or watched a bird drop from a branch, and lived long enough to make sure you never had to find out the hard way. You've never eaten a poisonous plant in your entire life, not because you're careful, but because someone, thousands of years ago, already died so you wouldn't have to. Every answer leads to another mystery. Subscribe to explore the next one. Thanks for watching.